there's Linda. Okay, I mean, we do have a quorum, so. Susan, I didn't see any minutes for January 5th.
Yeah.
I just sent them. I mean, I
They were-
sent them with the second email was after Lynn and I talked, we revised them.
Chairman Lovergood and members.
So
They
there
were
was a
October
first email that had
I need to
the
present.
5th and the 27th in it.
Thank you for.
You think they are?
The original email. Yeah, let me go back.
I only get the October ones.
Yeah, that's the only ones I got.
I sent out 2 emails. The first one had October and January, and then after Linda and I talked, I revised the October ones and
Oh,
sent another email. So the very
Okay.
first email was the same date. Now I can't remember when I sent that. Last week?
it was last week.
And then I just resent it to Fred. So let me hold on just a second.
Yeah, I deleted that because it said, oh, there are,
Oh, okay.
now they've been revised and I didn't realize there were other minutes with it.
And the agenda, did you see the agenda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the.
Hold
I
on.
don't know if it's the most current.
See if this works.
Yeah, the January 5th minutes were beneath the agenda, and the October 27th minutes, I had to scroll down to find it, but I did get them.
January
I just
January
resent them.
25th.
January
Fifth.
5th.
January 5th or 2020. Okay. And what email date was it?
I just resent it. So if you
Okay.
want- yeah. Let me see. The original one I sent out on the 28th. So the second email with just the 27th, those are the ones that were the revised ones. So
Okay. Well, I still don't.
you don't, okay.
Oh. Anyway, I can call the meeting to order, but those minutes.
Thursday, January 28th. Both sets went out.
Okay. Oh, there we are. Okay. I just printed them out for me. January 5th. Okay. All right. Does everyone have them then? January 5th?
Yes, yep.
So I would like to call to order the Northwood Conservation Commission meeting of February 2nd, 2021. Call to order is Grace Levergood.
Fred Borman, Vice Chair.
Winnie Young,
Susan Romano.
And now you say your name, Grace.
Grace Mattern.
Okay. Thank you. And first up is a review of the minutes from 10/27/2020. Now, these were quite a while ago. I make a move to accept the minutes of October 27th, 2020.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? No?
I think there's just one here for clarification. Let's see, page 5, 921. Starting with Ms. Young stated that she felt that they had an opportunity here to change the setbacks. The last sentence, it just a
I
little,
need to interrupt a minute if I could. The minutes were revised, so we need to make sure everybody's on the same set. The revised ones were sent.
right, I'm on the revised ones, yeah. The ones that they're really long.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
No, they didn't get longer when we revised them. They got
They're
shorter.
4 pages,
Yeah.
and they were emailed
On the 28th, but later in the day.
28th.
Is this the one where James Burdine presented all of his and we commented on it? That's what the one I'm looking at.
No, that's why
Yeah.
I changed, because he wasn't at the meeting, but I was trying to incorporate his comments in there, but then that was a little confusing, so
Yeah.
I took them out.
Oh, okay. I did not see that.
Do you have any comments on that?
I had read over the other ones that had 9 pages on it. So
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I couldn't find it.
I looked it over. I didn't see any issues. Basically, you must have, Susan must have listened to the recording and
Over
down.
and over again.
over and over again, yeah. Because the original minutes were kind of an interpretation of our letter that we sent out rather than the actual
Right.
meeting. So
Because I
these,
was
yeah.
spread very thin at that time, but
right.
got
So
more time.
do we have any comments on these? No? Okay, I make a motion to accept the minutes then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
I guess.
Right. So you got those? All right.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
The next minutes are from our last meeting, which I really haven't looked over, but I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of January 5th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Let's see, she said- Oh, okay. Just for clarification, okay, first page, line 21, actually starts at now line 19. She stated that as a commission, they have so much going on. A lot of good things are happening, and I would put a period there. She thought that each year they could take a look and then cross out at items having a time and date set each year where, okay, take that out. Take a look at the commission's long-term commitments. I would just shorten it to that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it means the same thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good. Okay, let's see. I think that's good. On the second page, it's just the first line, the capitalization, applying for.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's
Anything
good.
else?
Great. I'm good.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second,
Good.
All in favor?
aye.
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 Okay, with one
Yeah.
abstention. Okay. Well, I suggest that we move the special, I don't probably have the latest agenda, but anyway, I know we need to discuss the special exception, which TF Moran is here, and so we should discuss that first regarding the application for Camp Yavna. I don't know how many of you have looked at what was sent over, but they sent quite a lot of information, plans,
Everybody get
applications.
that?
So I'll kind of let TF Moran take it away and explain what you're looking for.
Thanks, Chairman Levergood. May I share my screen?
Sure.
I think you have to give me permission to share my screen. It's saying that the host has disabled the participant from screen sharing.
We try again.
Yep, there we go. Can everyone see what's being shown on the screen now of this plan set?
Yep.
Okay. Well, good evening, Chairman Levergood and members of the commission. Thank you for providing us this opportunity to present to you tonight. My name is Justin Masick, and I'm an engineer with TF Moran. Joining me remotely tonight is Corey Caldwell, a licensed land surveyor and principal at TF Moran. Just to give a quick background of the project, the proposed project is located at 18 Lucas Pond Road on a 55-acre parcel of land, Assessor's Map 124, Lot 15. The land is owned by Camp Yavna and is currently used as a Jewish overnight summer camp. The parcel is located in the General District, as well as the Wetland Conservation and Steep Slope Overlay Districts. The campground is situated along the north shoreline of Lucas Pond, which is shown at the bottom of this plan. It comprises of bunkhouses, indoor and outdoor recreational areas, classrooms, a dining hall, an art center, and other amenity buildings. This plan pretty much shows an overview of the different buildings and areas throughout the campground, as well as delineated wetlands. In a color here, we show Steep Slope Overlay District. I'll zoom in on the plan a little bit so you can see more clearly. We've shown areas in this orange color to be of 20 to 24.99% slope. And then areas in this darker orange is areas of 25% slope or greater. And I'll go into that a little bit more in more detail on the next page to come. So for proposed work, we're proposing the construction of 4 new bunkhouses in addition to the existing Marp Infirmary building. The primary intent of this project is to provide improved campground facilities, accommodations, to provide better separation, between campers and counselors throughout as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic as requested by the state. It is important to note that Camp Yavna has no intent to increase the total occupancy on the campground. Instead, campers and counselors will be displaced from existing bunkhouses into the proposed bunkhouses, resulting in an equal number of occupants throughout the campground. This plan set has actually been broken into 2 separate plan sets. The first plan set includes the construction of 3 different bunkhouses, which is G12 and 13, G11, and B12 and 13. The second plan set consists of bunkhouse B11 shown here, and an addition to the existing MARP infirmary building shown here. We had to reduce the scope of work per our last planning board meeting at the end of January. The first plan set that we're submitting for B11 and the MARP addition require no zoning relief. And for this second plan set that we're submitting, we do require zoning relief in the form of a special exception for the construction of bunkhouse G12 and G13, which is located within the steep slope overlay district. So this plan right here just gives you an overview for what we were proposing originally. So you can see we have bunkhouse B12 and 13 located here, boys bunkhouse B11 located right here, G11, G12 and 13, and then the addition to the MARP infirmary building. The plans that we submitted as a part of this special exception only include the construction of what's highlighted in blue here, which is G12 and 13, G11, and B12 and 13. I'll show the second plan here. So this is a blow up of G12 and 13, which is requiring the special exception. In the zoning ordinance, Article 6, Section E4, a special exception is required for the construction of a 2,050 square foot proposed bunkhouse G12 and G13. And that's because it's located within an area of contiguous area of 2,000 square feet containing 20% slope or greater. Excuse me. Originally, our footprint was supposed to be a little bit larger, and the extents actually overlapped into some of this 25% sloped area. And then in work with our client, we've reduced the building footprint and we've slid it forward. So now, as you can see, we're staying out of all the red area, which represents that 25% steep sloped area. The proposed bunkhouse is lifted on post and berry footings, which results in a lot less impact to the steep slope overlay district than an excavated basement foundation. Furthermore, existing drainage patterns are more closely kept as water can flow underneath the building. And this also results in a less impact to the steep slope overlay district. We'll have to relocate a couple of the existing features as shown here. There's an existing propane tank that we plan on locating outside of the steep slope overlay district altogether. And our associated gravel pathways that provide emergency exit and entrance access to the bunkhouse are outside of the 25% steep sloped area. So all associated improvements here stay out of the 25% prohibited area. And we made every effort that we could to pull the bunkhouse forward and reduce the footing size in order to eliminate impacts. That's a brief overview of what we're presenting, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have now.
I'd just like to point out one thing, Madam Chair. Corey Caldwell from TF Moran. We did look at other areas of this site to fit this girls' bunkhouse, girls 12 and 13. And if you look at the drawing on the screen, Justin, could you go back to that special exception drawing? Shown in the lighter gray lines are the other existing bunkhouses. So we can't go into the white, which is not steep slopes, because all that land is occupied by other buildings, leach fields, or utilities. The only place this building can go is in this area of steep slopes. As Justin mentioned, we'd be more concerned if they were on foundations. However, they're not. They're on these concrete piers. So the corners of the buildings will be supported, and then there'll be a couple of supports in the midpoint of the building, but the ground will stay the same underneath the building. It will remain the slope it is today. So runoff, stormwater can all flow underneath that building. There's very little impact to the ground as a result of the construction of this building. So we did take every opportunity to find space outside of the steep slope district. We could move it quite a bit to the northwest. However, then it becomes isolated from the other girls' bunkhouses. And the camp experience is to try to keep these bunkhouses, in pretty close proximity so that one isn't isolated from the others. So the only opportunity that led us to was somewhere in this, within these steep slopes. So just wanted to point that out for clarification.
And the erosion control plan, is that contained on one of your sheets?
We actually show a silt sock that's being proposed along the perimeter down gradient of the proposed construction. You can see it highlighted here with this SS along the line. We do have a erosion control plan for the submittal that we handed into the town for construction of Boys Bunkhouse B11 and the MARP edition, but we're still working on creating a final plan set to submit for this new set of work for these 3 proposed bunkhouses.
That's one of the requirements in the steep slope overlay district, 20 to 24%, 0.9%.
Yeah, so short, it's almost done.
Okay, it's in progress. Okay.
It's not.
And yeah, it looks like you've addressed drainage. Impact clearing. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have any issues. I don't know how about the other members have any questions?
Yeah, this is Fred. Do these bunkhouses have indoor plumbing, or, I mean, does any trenching have to be made for plumbing, or is there no running water in the bunkhouse?
They will have indoor plumbing. Yes, there'll be showers and toilets in these bunkhouses.
We're still coordinating with the state to determine the best placement for a potential septic tank. It's not currently shown on this drawing. We're in the process of conducting a feasibility analysis to determine if we can tie into existing septic tanks or if we'll be required to install a new septic tank to handle a new capacity. The existing leach fields on site, however, will have no increased load as we're going to be taking campers and counselors from adjacent bunkhouses and placing them into G12 and 13. And so ultimately, the leach field that it ties into will have no increased capacity, but we are in the middle of determining whether a new septic tank will be required.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
This is quite a distance from the lake, right? The pond. I know that was in your letter, the distance to Lucas Pond.
Yeah, let's show that overall, Justin.
Oh, yeah, right. there.
Yep, that is correct. This is the overall plan here where we show Lucas Pond down to the south. As you can see, this bold line right here that I'm hovering over represents the 250-foot shoreline buffer.
Mhm.
The approximate distance is a little over 500 feet from Lucas Pond. And the buffer there between the two consists of pretty heavy, dense forested areas and areas with low-lying vegetation, which will definitely act as a filter for flows that ultimately discharge down to Lucas Pond.
Good. It looks good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you for presenting. I'm not sure what you'd like from us, a letter or?
Yeah, I think the zoning board, our next step is to present this to the zoning board, and they're going
Okay.
to decide on whether we've submitted this to the commission. And I suspect the first question they'll ask us is, what did the commission, how did the commission feel about this project? So a brief letter or email would, we could request such would be, I think.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is the building that's going to be built only the G12 and G13 out of all of them? Is there only one building that's going to be built
No,
at this time?
5 new buildings built, but G12 and G13 is the only one in the steep slope overlay district and the only one that requires a special exception.
Okay.
Yeah, as shown here on
What
this
about the
overall.
one that's within the,
Sorry, I
Mhm.
didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. What about the one in the, within the wetland buffer near Lucas Pond down here?
The shoreland buffer,
Down, that would be
B12 and
the
B13.
B12 and B13.
Yeah, so we've submitted and received a shoreland permit for that building.
Okay.
And
And-
we've actually received approval on that submitted application for the shoreline permit.
But good question, Susan, because there's a light orange section that goes into B12 and B13, which might be a little bit misleading. The steep slope overlay district in Northwood says those steep slopes have to be an area of 2,000 square feet or greater. And that orange that's shown
Okay.
in B12 and B13 is much less than 2,000 square feet. Therefore, it's not technically part of the district. We've shown it to identify the slopes, but it's not within the district.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess that's that. We could send you an email saying that we reviewed it, and thank you very much
Thank you.
for
Appreciate
presenting.
Thank you.
the support. And it's funny. I'm only about 5 or 6 miles from Northwood Town Hall. I live in Stratford.
Oh.
And thought that I was looking forward, to coming over to Town Hall, but in this environment, it's much safer to be doing these via Zoom.
Yeah. No, we
Yeah.
miss our meetings too.
Not
In person.
Come visit us another time. We can be in person.
Right.
We appreciate all your input and questions. Thank you all very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good
thank
luck
you very
with-
much.
Good
Appreciate
night.
it.
Up with the season this summer.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have a question,
Yeah.
which is procedural, which is why I didn't ask them. So we don't have any authority over something like that. We just say, we've looked at it and it looks to us like they've taken into account the things that they should.
Yeah. Except, I mean, if they're in slopes greater than 25%, that's prohibited. So we would bring that up.
Okay,
But that
Okay.
we would just point that out to the planning board.
yeah, it's
know.
the planning board and the
Yeah.
zoning board who makes decisions about what can and can't happen.
Right.
But they came here so that they could say to whoever's making the decision, well, the Conservation Commission looked at it and they thought we did a good job of paying attention to what we need to. Is that like what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Basically.
okay.
If I could jump in, there's the zoning ordinance for the special exception
Uh-huh,
has a requirement that the applicant going to the zoning board must first come to the Conservation Commission for review and comment.
okay,
And it is now posted for some changes to that, which includes noting that those must be written comments from the Conservation Commission to the zoning board. So email is okay, but it certainly might be best just to do even a brief document that can be separate from an email.
okay.
You want me
You
to
know,
draft something up and send it to you, Linda? Or-
It's up to the commission.
That sounds good.
Is that
I think that's
okay?
a great idea.
Okay.
Um, In the packet that they sent us, that Susan sent us, they have gone through those 5 points. I probably you saw that. So
Yeah.
they explain those 5, like they did to us, but they've also written out the response. to
Right.
those.
No, they're very thorough. It's
Oh,
like
yeah. Oh,
very
yeah.
impressive. Yep. So, yeah, Grace, do you have the Northwood Development Ordinance, zoning ordinance? Because that's what we refer to. Yeah, so
No,
we should,
I don't have anything other than knowing I thought I would prefer being on the Conservation Commission than the Budget Committee.
okay, yeah, we have more fun.
Yes,
We go on hikes.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Would you like a hard copy of the zoning ordinance sent to you, Grace?
How big is it?
Oh, I don't know. Wordy pages, 50, I don't know, 30 pages,
Yeah,
double-sided. It
yeah,
is online, but it's nice to have one you can have in front of you when you want.
yeah, that
Yeah.
would be good.
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
send one out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So we were referring to section 5E or 6E, if you're looking in those, in that ordinance. That's
Okay.
what we're referring
Great.
to.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is the DACO CMA letter. And sorry, Shelley's not here, Winnie, but
I don't know, Linda, do you want to talk about the letter? Do you want me to jump in, or you guys want my voice again?
sure.
Well, I think you have a real good handle on it, Winnie.
Okay, I guess I should start off by just mentioning that the ZBA did grant the variance that was needed for those, for the road construction called Site D and Site E. That, though, that variance was suggested in our letter of last June, and they granted that in their meeting in January. So that's done. And the CMA letter, I mean, if you look at it carefully, a lot of it, I mean, it does overlap with what we asked them to require and asked, to be a recommendation. Let's see. Let me just start with the only things I can see that we might respectfully remind the planning board that they might, one of the things that was discussed, if I can go to this, it's beyond the letter, but I just want to put the things out that I think are the two most important. Okay, if I can do that. The stump grinding, Fred came on September 24, 2020, and we discussed, instead of spreading the stumps for the restoration plan, that stump grinding was better, and Mr. Holden said, yes, they could do that. And I don't know if that made it into the restoration plan or not. And in the letter, they talked about blasting and the blasting BMPs. And that was one of our concerns too, that no blasting or excavation take place outside of the 3 designated pits. And the rest, I mean, I think we've batted around a lot. I would say with this letter, it wouldn't hurt if it's an appropriate thing that the planning board does, is to send this, well, let's go over it. But I think this is something that they might want to send to DES as the findings from CMA. They mentioned outstanding water resource, watershed, but they said again that there's no significant communication with surrounding areas, and the wells are at least 2,000 feet away. Let's see what else. Yeah, they mentioned they wanted to make sure that the BMPs for protection of water quality from blasting operations would be in the excavation permit required. Then they said, I don't know if you're following around, the elevation. I typed this out. This is on, I'm on the 3rd page. The 3rd page at the top, the 3rd page of 4, and it says requires the application include the elevation of the highest annual average groundwater table within or next to the proposed excavations. I'm assuming that these kinds of things would be in the excavation permit. I was reading through all the things that go into an excavation permit, and these kinds of things I mean, this is saying they require it. So should we just assume that they're, because it's required in the excavation permit, that they would follow this? It does have an emphasis on groundwater in that paragraph. The application does not include these descriptions which relate to the question of the hydrogeologic setting and the characteristics of the proposed quarries. The next paragraph talks about blasting regulations. Anybody else, wants to jump in on this? I mean, I don't have to go on and on, but it does have the RSA 485A17. This is the second paragraph, third page. Review and regulation of both surface water impacts and groundwater impacts from large disturbances of land. Again, that should be covered in the alteration of terrain permit. And one of the things that CMA has said is that, and we said, shouldn't they all be kind of having a conversation? Okay, so the planning board converses with the wetland board and what the permits going on there, and the alteration of terrain, and not just kind of, I mean, all those things need to be taken into consideration at the same time. Okay, third paragraph, infiltration to groundwater of significant quantities of surface water at various places in the sequential excavation. And that groundwater flow that would need to occur from these infiltration location has not been characterized. So all of these things, I don't know, Linda, if is this something when there is a third party suggestions, a review, do those things go to the applicant? And then I apologize that the last planning board meeting, I'd been out on the trails working trail work for 5.5 hours, and it was a bit of a zombie. So I don't know if they discussed, I don't think they discussed actually requiring this of Mr. Holden, of Mr. Daco, or is this something they will have further discussion on? And is this something usually that they would pass on to the applicant because it's a third party review?
They received that immediately upon receipt of it. They do have it.
Okay, because that's what I thought in the meeting that I went to. I thought it was a very thorough review of the plan, assuming, I guess I should use that word, that this is something that they will encourage Mr. Holden to incorporate. Because they've got the recommendations on the last page there. Kind of, they pulled it out of the letter, the bullet points.
Susan's looking to jump in, I think.
Go ahead, do it.
Yes, Susan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I went ahead and watched the planning board meeting with Mr. Holden too, because I'm very interested in this project. And I think that what struck me was that very last paragraph of this report on the very last page. And it seemed to stimulate a lot of conversation. And I think that this is something that we brought up at one of our previous meetings, that we were concerned about. Well, what happens, if you dig down the gravel 100 feet out, even though you have that buffer, that 100-foot buffer around the wetland, what happens to the water levels inside of the prime wetland?
Right.
And so they're actually addressing that from an engineering standpoint. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
They're grading some of those areas outside the buffer so that the water leading into, I believe leading out, depending on where you are, it will not change the way that the water is entering or leaving the prime wetlands. And Mr. Holden went into great detail on how that was done. And I was just really impressed with what they're doing to help keep those prime wetlands with that same water level. So it's amazing what those engineers can do, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that came out of the Conservation Commission, and they actually really looked at that and followed through with it. So I was
Great.
very impressed.
Yeah, I think they're quite thorough in their response. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so I would say, that this letter should definitely go to DES as part of the AOT permit review process. So I don't know how we guarantee that happens, but
I don't know.
I don't know.
You could recommend it to the planning board. I don't know if they can require the applicant to do that because it's a state permitting process. But I think if you suggest it, then the planning board asks, they likely would agree to it.
Okay.
I also think it wouldn't hurt to have a presence at that meeting. And if there's any lingering issues that you feel are not addressed or that you would like to emphasize again, to bring them up at this stage in the process of planning board members have it in the, in the forefront of their minds. There's a lot of information that they've had to deal with and then going a month in between and, some may be more knowledgeable about wetland issues than others, and having some folks from the Conservation Commission there does not hurt.
And so when is that
anything.
going to be, Linda?
Well, let me ask Susan, was that rescheduled to the 11th?
Actually,
Maybe it was the 28th
25th.
or the 25th.
I'll have to look at the minutes because for some reason I didn't write it down on my
Let
calendar.
me see if I have it while you're. Yeah, I think that because they bumped so many of them to the 11th. It's probably the 25th.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the minutes. I don't know why I didn't write it down. I usually do it as soon as they vote on it.
Would you send us an invite like you did before to the last planning board meeting, Linda?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be very helpful. And then those of us who can jump on could
That one-
add our 2 cents.
Well, you wrote that you didn't have them on the email I'm reading that was sent to the chairman. So I'm guessing it is the 25th, but we'll confirm that and send
Yeah,
a.
right. But I also was looking at my calendar, so let me double check.
2, 3, because we have 4 others scheduled for that night.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they didn't do it that night.
Well, I can mute myself and go back and look if you want to go on to something else.
Okay. All right. Next is update on the school lots, town forest lot, Fred. I imagine that's you, Fred.
Well, we have been busy putting up boundary tags. The Parsonage and Lalish lots are completely tagged. I started putting tags on the school lot, but only in the area where we had noticed the ATV trespass last summer. One of the private landowners has actually dropped trees across his side of the stone wall on the west side and has put a private sign on the logs that he stacked. Somebody has been in the wintertime. I don't know if it was a dirt bike or a bike with snow tires or what, but somebody has been riding through there. And then Winnie, you said you've been working on another piece of property, putting up tags, right?
Right, I started on the little Acorn property, the former Low property, as it's listed in the annual report. There's another issue that we found, and Linda was going to look into this. Can I share something, Susan?
It should be all set.
Okay, well, I don't know. Let me pull this up. Share screen. All right. Oops, I should bring it up first. Let me just find the right thing here. That's not it. Okay, there's two lots that make up the school lot. Is that visible to you all?
Not
Okay.
yet.
Okay, let's see. Share.
There you go.
All right. There's two halves of the school lot. They're actually, the school lot goes across Lucas Pond Road. And if you're driving down Lucas Pond Road, this one here is the one on your left. You're driving like out of Northwood. And there's these lots. These are non-conforming lots. The school lot was, looking at some of the history and some of those reports we have on town lands, it was established in the 1700s. So it isn't something recent. And yet there's these non-conforming lots here. And Linda was going to look, there's nothing that I've been able to find. I don't know if she found anything where these are established. And if they were established and it's a okay thing to do, they should be changed into at least 2 acres. There's one house on the first lot here. So she was going to look into that. And then in the town report, when I did all that clarifying of where the lands were, I didn't realize that this one was 2 separate lots. So this is lot 11, I think it's 244 lot 11. And the other one where Fred has been doing his work is across here and down in here. And it's 102 acres. So that's got to be changed in the annual report, probably not this year. But that's one more of those little funky things that need to be fixed. But this is a little concerning because it is, it is a town forest, and I have no idea when they put these in. And these are listed, if you go out to Avatar, which is a assessing thing, you can look at the assessing cards. These are listed there as well. Their value is about $70,000, but they are non-conforming. They're under 2 acres. So when she comes back, if Linda has found anything, excuse me, on that, that would be good. This little road here, as Fred was talking about access, and it says private, but then right there where the hatch mark is there, it says town property. So I guess it's town property. If the Lucas Pond people maintain it, then it's private, I guess. And then if the town maintains it, it's town property. I mean, it's listed as town property, and it does go to the big school lot down here. And I'm maybe try to find that out. So that's another issue with that lot.
So, Winnie, do you know what lot 42 is? Who owns that? I had town in Northwood.
Lot 42, is that? Oh, yeah, there's little lots in here. I mean, the Lucas Pond, the ones on the shoreline were leased for years. It was like 100-year lease. And then back in I asked Bob when it happened because he was selectman, for a while. And he said back early 90s, they just sold them. I mean, it was no sense. The leases were coming up and there was houses on them, and they sold the little lots around the pond. But there's still a bunch of little lots, and even along the shoreline that say town of Northwood. Oh, that's the same one. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
wow.
So there's all these little lots, and there's these lots that are designated as lots, and they have the town of Northwood on those. And this is where the road comes in that I just showed you. And then that's, and I don't have any idea. Fred, you haven't tackled that, but I don't know if these people have, made any boundary signs as to where their lot ends and the town property begins behind all of those, but
I seriously doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah.
So you're saying those lots are all on town forest land?
Oh, this is the town forest here. And then
Yeah.
these are like I'm really, that's a good question. I don't know if these are considered part of the town forest or something else. All of this was in there, and then I think it was just this area was town forest, and these were leased lots. But even
Okay.
these still say town on them. And some of these along here, even right along the shoreline, say town lot. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
What a mess.
well, yes,
Yeah,
Yikes.
before
I
we
was not
tag,
gonna-
before we tag this, we need to know if they're, and I don't know how this got sold, but anyhow, before we tag it, we need to find out if we tag it.
Right.
yeah, I was not going to tag anything behind people's houses. This might be an area that we should consider probably having resurveyed based on what Linda finds, because it's a mess. I mean,
Yeah.
human nature, small lots tend to encroach on larger lots over time. And, it'd probably make sense to have a real survey of that area before we start putting up tags and boundary paint.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
Winnie,
Definitely.
is that lot on the shore that says town, is that where the beach is?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've paddled out there, and there isn't that open area. and
yeah. I
there-
always knew that as the town beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, long time ago.
Huh.
Like, I'm talking, I had toddlers I took there.
Yeah.
So, like 30 years, 35 years.
Yeah, I think it's like lot 57. Is that what you're?
Well,
That
I
was a-
see town, like it dips in a little bit.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
like
says
this one's
town,
full.
it looks, and there's open area in front of it, like where people parked.
Mhm.
Oh, I think you might be getting confused with Woodman Park,
Okay,
Mm,
okay.
which is a public town
Woodburn Park.
area that
Yeah.
people used to, I remember going there like 30 years ago.
Yeah, when we both had little kids, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one's on Lucas Pond Road over here.
Yeah, that's a different one. I can give you a little history about those other lots that say town owned. And hopefully, maybe in 2021, I can make this happen. But occasionally we've received complaints from people down there about issues relative to these lots. And I went back and we had somebody who came in for a zoning board application, and there was some infighting going on or whatever. So I went back and I looked into the issue of what Winnie was talking about at the time. There was all these leased lots, and the town decided they would look into having a legal opinion as to whether or not the town could sell the lots. So the attorney said yes. They set up a process by which there was a warrant article. The townspeople accepted it, and they allowed people who had the lease lots. The first year, they were able to buy it at, say, 25% below assessed value, and then the next year was 15, and then the third year you had to pay full price. So that happened. A lot of people did buy those. But in that warrant article, it specifically states that as part of it, those private roads and that town, we want to call it a beach area, and there's 2 lots that I believe have access to the pond, and maybe 2 other remaining lots that the town has in that area are to be deeded to the Lucas Pond Association. I looked into it, and apparently that never occurred. I contacted the attorney's office who did the original work, and she said she couldn't find anything that they did to that would indicate those lots were conveyed. Our tax maps show that they're not. I brought it up probably 2 years ago, and at that time, oh, well, we got other things. We don't need to spend money on dealing with that and whatever. So that got pushed to a back burner, and then COVID came and we had another default budget. So I'm hoping that this can be addressed, because it really needs to be, the warrant article needs to be followed through. And that was the agreement, that those lots would belong to the homeowners in that area. So that would take it out of any jurisdiction of the town at that point, including the private roads that they plow, the association plows, and any liability to the town. As far as those small lots that are all in front of that large school lot, I believe that all those tracks were included in the town forest. I will verify that, and I have seen something that indicates that, but I want to go back and see if I can locate more details on it. And when he brought up an amazing question, which I immediately thought, well, of course, once you designate town forest, you can't change it. No, that's not the answer. You can. So there is a real possibility that those lots could be conveyed out by a warrant article. There's, I know there's been in recent years, a lot of people saying, well, the town owns so much land. Why don't we sell it and create some revenue from that? The concern here is that the town does not, there's a procedure which they have been following that says if a non-conforming lot would only be sold to an abutter who could merge it with their lot as part of a existing lot, and that it could not be a separate buildable or a separate lot of record. It could only be used to make someone else's lot larger. So they could, because there's so many, I don't know, I can't see from the detail, but I'm guessing that some of those could be combined to create a lot, merged to create a saleable lot along the front. I don't know what other than one quick revenue, what it would, what it would amount to. But certainly it's something to think about, whether this year, it's too late to be on the warrant, but whether or not creating a warrant article to merge those front lots with the back lot. If it's determined they're town forests, it probably should eliminate those lot lines.
Right.
So it
Aren't
wouldn't
there-
be, it wouldn't be easy to convey them out. Now, they're separate lots of record, they could be conveyed without subdivision.
Aren't all those lots, they have houses on them?
Not here, just one of them does.
Oh,
Yeah.
All the rest of them along the front are just sitting there still.
oh.
I mean, there must have been a warrant article that took them out of the town forest or subdivided that section along the road somewhere. I mean, that had to be voted on.
No, I think they may have been part of that whole developed, because the lots are all very similar, small camp lots. They were probably part of the ones that were cut up to be leased lots, and they were never actually
Oh.
leased out, and then just incorporated as part of the.
Okay.
The school lot goes back to what's referred to as the King's Grant.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's quite a history there. The point of those was originally that timber that was harvested off of those, and Fred probably could give a much better summary of that if he's familiar with it. But the timber on those lots was intended for the school, and our town forest, that's the parsonage lot, was intended to be would be distributed to the churches in town. And that's how they were set up in the very early years of the town.
Yeah, that's how it is in a lot of communities, is they would have a parsonage lot to provide income for the pastor. The parsonage lot would provide income and a source of firewood for the pastor, and the school lot was used to support the local schools.
So leave that now, for now, and then see if it needs a warrant article. I wonder how people will respond to that.
Oh, boy, they're gonna
Yeah,
be.
that can, that can go either way. You
I
know,
know.
That's a tinderbox over there.
Worry about it. You might be opening a can of worms. I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Well, another thought, and I don't know if this would work or not, would be to work directly with the Board of Selectmen and see if they would be willing to put a permanent conservation easement, non-development on those lots
Or the whole
As-
thing.
as
Oh, the-
part of the town forest land.
Because
Yeah.
if the town forest, I didn't know a town forest could be changed. I wonder if we should, I know some of the town lands have deed restrictions, but still some towns have put all of their town forest at least into conservation easements. I think Deerfield has done that. I'm not sure, but it's not unusual. But it makes me a little nervous that they can change town forests. I mean, I thought they couldn't.
I thought that as well, Winnie. I thought it was similar to a conservation easement, but it isn't.
Right. No. I wonder even if like the Lalish lot, and I think Guptill and I think the low lot, the little acorn lot out behind, I think we put deed restrictions on it, but I don't even know how binding that is. Yeah,
Oh, those are binding because those were bought with conservation funds,
that's right. That's right. Yes. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Good.
which makes the difference.
Right. Same with the Yetton lot, right? But
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Is there a map somewhere that has all these lots, like all the town lots?
Mm-hmm.
Is it on the website, Linda?
I don't know. That's a good question though, Grace. There's a large map at the town hall that has all the conserved lots. I can, as part of our dues with Stratford Regional Planning, I can ask them if they could send us an electronic version of that.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that because, you're all mentioning different lots and I have an idea where most of them are, but like I have no idea what the little acorn lot is.
When
No.
I was doing the town forest survey, when I was at UNH, I could not find a single map that had all of the town-owned properties on them. I basically went through all of the tax maps trying to identify where the different lots were. So, yeah, I don't know if the regional planning authorities have them, but I never found one on any town website.
Yeah, interesting.
The forest management plan, we still need to get those maps that are supposed to go with that
Yeah,
document.
I actually looked through that looking for maps and didn't see anything.
Yeah, there's no maps with them, but they are at the town hall. We just need to copy them and digitize them and
Okay.
send them out.
I'll make myself a note.
Okay, thank you.
when you're consider too, I know the state has our prime wetlands. They have a nice little concise map that has prime wetlands on it. It would be nice if we could get that onto the website. And maybe even if there's a map with the outline of the conservation overlay districts. I don't know if that's possible or not, but all of those would be handy to have eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
I know I have been going to the Axis GIS /Northwood site
Mhm.
to look for the tax maps.
Yep.
And then you can see, you can also turn on a layer of conservation lands and town lands, and they show up green.
And what's that called? The Access GIS?
Axisgis.com, I think, /Northwood.
Yeah, it's
if you just Google-
AXIS.
Yeah, if you Google Northwood
AXIS.
tax maps, it comes up on your Google search.
Yeah. And, you know, I think there's one for Stratford too, is there?
Deerfield and Epsom, I think, I've looked over onto that, which
Okay.
helps where the abutting town is connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So that's a starting point to print out your own map so you can figure out where these are.
That's how I figured out the loop road, Grace, that you
Oh.
mentioned to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I could see it going through from Northwood to Epsom and then back around.
Yep. You do go through Epsom out there.
Okay, so are we all done with that subject?
I just want to mention to Linda, you saw that one of the things like, remember when I did all that stuff about straightening out the annual report? I missed this one, that the school lot is actually should be listed as two separate lots on map 244, lot 11 and whatever this one is.
Lot 42, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So that, you know, sorry, I did all the other ones and then I said, oh my God, that's two lots and not one. So, yeah, that needs to be changed in the town report probably next year.
Well, it hasn't been printed, so if you have something,
Yeah, I had sent this to you with lots of confusing things because this is last year's. And I sent you this, well, but maybe I should make it so you can read it. Oh, what a good, no, that's not too good either. But on one page that has all the town lands, they're not conservation lands. They list Upper Camp Road. I got to go back because you're going to have to turn your heads. Okay. But it just has Camp Road and it has that the Camp Road is 102 acres. And that actually is the southern, it's south of the Lucas Pond. That's the map 42. That is actually half of the school lot or part of it. And the other one, let's see if I can get that one over here. Yeah, this is maybe this will work. Okay, on the page where it has all the conservation lands, the town forest. Okay, this is how it should read. And I just missed that when I was doing this a year or so ago. But the school lot east, as Charlie Marino and Robert Graves called it, is this one. And then west is the one on Upper Camp Road, which is the 102 acres.
I would be so happy to make maps for you guys.
That'd be nice, yeah.
As part of like what I can do to contribute. So if somebody wants to, if somebody wants to like identify what is, town property or however you want them identified, even just by writing something down or writing it into, the town map or whatever, all the big property map, we can color code those and we can download the property boundaries from New Hampshire Granite GIS site. We use those all the time. So do you want me to do that? I would have to work with somebody who knew where the properties were, but I would love to do that for you.
Winnie knows where they all are. Yeah, that'd be very
Can we
helpful.
do that together?
Yeah.
I think it would be great.
Yeah, it'd be very helpful, especially the overlay districts. I still am not real clear on that, and that's in our rules. Those are, what we have to know.
Yeah, so long as we have someone who knows where everything is, I think we're good.
Yeah.
And
Great.
and I can just do that. Okay.
Okay.
So
thanks.
Winnie, maybe why don't we email each other after the meeting and figure out a time to do that? Okay.
Sure.
Okay,
Great. Thank you.
Mhm, sure.
Okay.
and if I could know for the record that Tom just came on board. And Tom, I tried to pick up the phone in time, but I didn't, but I got your message.
Thank you, Linda, and unmute. Johanna had a Zoom and sorry, I'm late. I'm happy to see, I think you have a quorum, so.
Yes, nice to see you, Tom.
So
So-
I'm sorry, but I didn't hear what Winnie was just saying, but Winnie, if you could send me those,
Yeah,
I'll make sure that they get checked.
okay,
So-
yeah. I thought I did, but maybe they didn't get through. I thought I had sent these to you.
Oh, I thought there was only one.
Oh,
Did
maybe
you get it?
that could happen. I may not have attached both.
I
Okay,
think I actually sent it to the assessor, but I'll check on it.
okay, I'll send these to you. I also sent you, and I said the March meeting was soon enough, a revision of that checklist and using your format and that list that I had suggested about like a yearly review. I cleaned that up and categorized stuff. And that could go out for next month's meeting, if people could
Okay.
take a look at it and see what they think.
All right. Are you gonna finish, stop sharing, Winnie?
Sure, I'm gonna stop sharing. I like to share.
Yeah, I'll send those out.
Okay.
I
I'll get-
didn't want to put too much on. You said it was okay for March.
Oh, yeah.
I just,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know, because.
I didn't know how involved that special exception was going to be.
No, there's no rush at all about that. No.
So we need to discuss RSA 91A and emails. I think that's Linda's addition.
Yeah, I sent something out as a follow-up, but I just want to caution people that if we can just not communicate on opinions or discussions via email amongst each other, even if it's only two of you, or because as it notes in that information I sent along, two people and then one gets added and then all of a sudden there's a quorum discussing an item. So if everything goes to either Grace or myself and we can disseminate out to the rest of you, if you have things that you'd like to send to other members. But it always has to be a one-way street. It can't be, well, what do you think of this idea? And then start talking about it where the public does not have any ability to hear what the discussion is that potentially leads up to a decision.
Would
Yeah,
that
I
include
was thinking-
something like, when Winnie and Grace and I go out to do trail work and we email back and forth saying, I'll meet you at Old Mountain?
No,
No?
doesn't include that type of thing.
Okay, so that's okay.
Yeah, anything like that is fine.
Okay. All right.
But it would be like, I shouldn't, like sometime when I see Susan say, hey, what do you think about those non-conforming lots on the school lot? Like, we shouldn't talk about that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. No, the better thing is, and Susan, we're putting you in the hot seat here. If Susan was to say, oh, I'm really concerned about those non-conforming school lots, she should send an email to Grace and say, can we talk about the non-conforming school lots on the next agenda?
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I want to add one thing also about the trail clearing. Fred and Winnie, whoever's working on those trails should be kind of recording the time you spent out there, so that in the future, if we need to go for a grant, we'd have matching hours,
Sure.
so just kind of keep a little logbook.
Okay. All right. And while we're still on the trails, I'm at the point cutting now where it's becoming non-productive time-wise to be walking in for an hour, working for 2 hours, walking out for an hour. Of course, with the new snow, I'm not going to be going back in there for the time being anyway, but we really need to coordinate having at least 2 people with chainsaws so that we can leapfrog and get more done in a day. I know it means more pickup and cleanup, but the trail work I've done for like Southeast Land Trust, we usually have 2 or 3 people and we can do a whole trail in one day. And, right now we're just, picking at it, and I might get 500 feet one day and 600 feet another day. But if we want to get this, in the works for opening up next spring, and get it painted and available for people to use, then we're going to have to step up the pace with more chainsaws.
Mhm.
I'm working on my husband.
I see him walking back and forth every once in a while.
He's being talked about.
And what trail are you working on?
We're creating a new one that starts on Old Mountain Road. It follows the parsonage lot boundary to the Lalish lot, and then it cuts diagonally through the Lalish lot, and then back up to the vista on Saddleback Mountain.
Nice.
So you're putting in a new trail there other than the loop that exists?
Yep.
Okay.
We've had the Lalish lot now for, I don't know, 10 years maybe, and nothing has really been done there. And there's a beautiful gorge in there. And in time, when we figure out where the Delorier lot is, where the boundaries are, there's a nice overlook that looks to the south from the Delorier lot.
Nice.
So we'll connect to that too. But this new trail will be, I want to say, 3,000 to 4,000 feet by the time we're done.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like to the east of the existing parsonage lot trail.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice job clearing the viewpoint up
Yeah.
there at the top.
It was Winnie and her gang.
I know, what a difference.
This
What a
was a chain
difference.
gang. This was a chainsaw gang.
I know. I heard about it from David Barr. So I went right up there like the next weekend and whoa.
Oh,
I know, beautiful.
Yeah.
He and Will Fry, I met them on the trail and they just said to me one time, if you want any help cutting that vista. And I'm like, what? So he started cutting it. Fred remembers in July, not a good time to do that, but
Yeah.
finish it in the fall. But they'd be willing, if we could set up a time a little bit ahead of time, I'm sure they or Lance Watkinson would be willing. And I remember Paul Davis, right? He said he would be willing to come up,
Right. And Lance.
coordinate. Yep.
Yeah. I'll do picking up, but I don't do chainsaws.
We need
Sorry, me neither.
We need picker-uppers.
pick her up.
I could be a picker-upper.
One thing I was looking at today too, and we're just talking about maps. You're probably aware that NowMac had a wonderful interactive map of all the lots in the NowMac neighborhood that Rick Vanderpool did. You can click on that and it has features. It does have a lot about the Deloria lot and about some of the unique habitat up there. So it's
Okay.
worth checking out. It's got descriptions of town lots that are out there, the Yetton lot and so on. So it's really cool. It's interactive and so it's got some good information on that too. Just wanted to-
They- Say that again, Winnie, what that is? That's a website?
It's NowMac,
Okay.
Yep, and it's if you go to it, you'll go scroll down, you'll see Rick's face, and underneath that, you can click on interactive map. And
Okay.
it has all kinds of, it has pictures, it has information. He did a really good job out there. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
the NowMac, it's not,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of our properties on it, not all
Oh,
of them.
excellent.
Another.
I do have one question for Linda. I was talking to Phil Ozier a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned to him that we were working on the trails on the parsonage and Lalish lots. And he mentioned to me that many years ago that he saw some receipts for the construction of the stone walls around the parsonage lot. Have you ever seen those, Linda?
No.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him again because I don't remember where he saw them, but he said that he actually saw receipts for the construction of the stone walls around the parsonage lot.
The Historical Society might have that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I thought it
can,
was interesting.
I'll ask Sandy Priolo. She,
Yeah, she's the one.
Yeah. So they actually paid somebody back in the day to build those stone walls. I thought it was, just some farmer or, landowner had their indentured servants do it, but the town actually paid people to build those stone walls around the parcel.
Wow, that's it. That's something. Well, certainly was a lot of work.
Yeah.
All right, I guess there's under correspondence, we have a DOT letter that was sent. Did everyone look at that?
I didn't for some reason, no, not for some reason, because it said, Grace, we need to respond to this. I was
Right.
like,
I
I
know,
have
it's-
to respond. Is it because it's near my house?
It's addressed to me, I know. that's
Then I
great.
figured it out.
Yeah, they're asking for mitigation efforts. They're going to be working on the bridge, yeah, 107 over the Narrows Brook. And they're asking if we have any projects that they could use for mitigation, like they're going to be doing an impact, wetlands impact, and what can they do in exchange for the wetland impacts in the town of Northwood, basically.
They could buy the Johnson's Field for us,
Yeah. That'd be-
because that's a wetlands.
Did you see my response to that?
I did, and you sent around the hazard mitigation plan?
Yeah, I mean, that has large, like dams in it and stuff. And, that's probably not
Yeah.
what they want, but I was just brainstorming. I don't know what they want, but there's small things that could be, corrected, like even right along that Narrows Brook.
Right.
Where the boat launch is, it's east of that. And I had walked up there because that's where the Johnson Field Restoration Project, the kids do, the Co-Brown kids do. And it's eroding, that banking is eroding and going into the Narrows Brook. So
Uh-huh.
be protecting that, cutting, even cutting, doing some of the cutting in that area. I don't know. I don't really know what they want, but
Yeah,
those are things I brainstormed anyhow.
okay. Well, would you like me to respond to this letter since it's addressed to me? And I don't know, you want me to send it around through Linda to the other members? So you see what I'm writing back?
Sure.
And you can add to it.
Sure.
Great.
Sure.
That sound good, Linda?
Tom wants to talk.
Yes, Tom?
I gotta unmute myself. I was just going to say, the best way to handle it is either to decide what it's gonna say at the meeting or for the commission to give you permission to write it. And unless you want to wait till next meeting, they can't really approve it via an email.
Okay.
But what I wanted to chime in was if they're going to do that work at the down in the Narrows, is there some way you could ask them to look at the stream from that culvert down to Northwood Lake and see if someone with a more experienced eye than mine might see some way to improve that section of the stream that flows from the culvert down to Northwood Lake?
Yeah, I mean,
The other thing I would point out is that at some point, I think the Johnsons gave us this little triangle of land that goes from Ye Old Canterbury Road down to Route 4. In other words, the land between School Street and the stream itself, or over to where the alpaca lady or whatever those critters are owns the property. So is there some way in which someone could look at that and say, oh, we could take, some of the brush out of this, we could move some of the debris out of the way, just so they don't damage the elderberry bushes that are down there?
Yeah, there's some nice old apple trees in there that are getting eaten by brush. So,
All right. Well,
I mean, it's a pretty little strip of stream
yeah,
that with some cleaning out of brush could be quite attractive.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then that Johnson field too. Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
they can buy the field. That'd be great.
Is that something we want to do a site walk where they're planning to do the work to give Grace some ideas to send back to them?
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, I like go run by there every single day, so it's like right behind my house. I'd be happy to do a site walk.
Okay.
Okay, and another thing is that they planned the project for the winter of 2020. So does that mean
It's
We're
done.
in.
that's gonna be a typo, right?
It's the winter. This is the winter of 2020.
2020.
It happened already.
It
Yeah.
already happened, so I think maybe I should give them a call or something.
And I'm assuming they mean like that big brook that goes like from the corner of my property, Tom, over to, it's where Narrows Brook goes from the west side of 107 to the
Right.
east side of 107. Yeah.
Right. But everything between where the culvert's gonna be, I'm not sure whose property the brook flows through. And I know that our property begins at Canterbury Road. But the idea is if they're gonna be in the neighborhood, maybe there's some other good they could do that would be remediative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. That'll be right there too. I mean, in the area that they're
Yeah.
working. It
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, well, would you like me to take this and draft a response?
Yeah.
Yes, I make a
I'll
motion.
move that Grace
Okay.
be authorized to draft a response to the
Second,
DOT letter.
second,
I second it.
third.
All in
Circle it.
favor? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. I'll respond to them. Is there anything else that we should discuss?
I sent out, this is kind of old business. At the last meeting, when he had recommended a checklist. I don't know if you got those emails
Yep,
about that and whether or not we should develop a checklist. And I just wanted to say that after I researched that, even though it was a great idea, I think that the checklists are really complicated. I mean, even the proposal that was submitted today had one of those checklists
Yeah.
for all the various, types of, applications. So I think we should probably just put that link on the Conservation Commission website and have them look at that, rather than trying to do it again, mostly because it's so complex and we don't want to miss anything, that they might particularly have to submit. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, kind of goes back to what Grace mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about, well, what is the process for approving the applications? And since I really consider myself still a newbie, right? I've only been here for a year. I had researched that and kind of sent information around about that. So I was wondering, in situations like today, should we have gone on a site visit to look at that? I mean, it seems like that's what they're recommending the Conservation Commission to do, to go out and look at those and make sure everything's in order. How do you all feel about that? Is that something we should do, or how is this typically done with the Conservation Commission?
We have
Pardon
done
me?
sidewalks on other projects, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, some of them, I definitely, think a site walk is necessary. Camp Yavna, though, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with work that's going on over there, but maybe others wanted to
Mhm.
see it, so that we're always open to that.
I think your
suggesting.
procedures actually state 7 days ahead. It was added to the agenda rather last minute. So you don't have to necessarily, you didn't have to follow up with comments tonight if you didn't want to, and you could have, gone forward with a site walk. I think in this particular case, it was the application itself that maybe didn't warrant that level of, investigating or looking into it, although, that's just my opinion. But the other side of it is they are under a rather tight time restraint, and they're working with both the zoning board and planning board.
Right.
Fortunately, things apparently got pushed up to further along, and like everybody else, COVID is affecting everything, but they're hoping to be able to break ground as soon as they can in the, whether it's March or April, to be able to start building the bunkhouses. What they said to me was, if this wasn't a go, they weren't sure if they could even open the camp. So this year, because they need to keep the kids far enough apart, so they need additional bunkhouses to have less kids in each bunkhouse. So that was a driving part of this, but that is certainly a more standard approach, Susan, would be to want to go out and look at the site before you made comments.
Definitely.
Okay.
And yeah, we've
Okay.
definitely done that in the past, especially if it's a big development or something. So,
All right. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I just want to make sure I was on the right page there with what we were supposed to do. So thank you.
Is my term up in March, Linda?
I got the book right here. I think
Don't,
I already sent a letter to them, Fred.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
You
I'm
can't
sorry,
quit,
Fred. You
Fred.
can't.
You can't leave, Fred. You got the chainsaw.
no, chainsaw. yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Well, I'm gonna check here.
I'll
I
re-up for
thought I
another 3.
did. I picked up the wrong book here.
Oh, isn't it on the website?
Okay. Winnie and, no, you don't.
Fred's term, according to an older town, the 2019 says that Fred's term expires March 20th, March 2020.
Right.
Oh,
So he may have been serving all this time in flagrante delicto.
I'm illegal.
Well, let me look. I'm just gonna hook into the server. It'll take me 1 second and I will tell you if Winnie and
Steve Hample are up.
Steve Hample are up.
Yeah, what happened to Steve?
I did send an email out to him a month or so ago, and he is just extremely busy with his job, and he gets called in, I guess, a lot. So he said he's still interested, but
He has to make a living.
Okay.
okay.
So let's see. On the town website, I don't think you're even on there. Oh, wait a minute, there it is. It says 2020.
2020.
It's illegal.
Good.
Well, yeah, because that
Says
would be
to the-
last year's.
Hmm.
Okay, let me look
Yes.
at the letters here.
But Tom Chase's term ended 2019, it says.
Yeah, but I got re-upped.
So Tom, I think Oh, you did? Okay, good.
I don't think they've changed the website.
Yeah, right. It's- Website expired.
Yeah.
I'm up in 2022.
Should we just go ahead and reconfirm Fred? If he
Have
wants
to
to
go- it
stay.
has to- He has to be reappointed by the select board.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah, we just can't do it.
I'll put in a good word for him.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy Hal will talk about it.
Fred, I sent you and Grace Levergood a copy of the email I got from the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions
I have it right here.
that was talking about these bills that the Association for Conservation Commissions flagged as being important to conservation commissions. And the first thing I'm wondering is, besides me, do the rest of you get the emails from the Association of Conservation Commissions? Raise your hands.
I think so.
I
I
think
must,
so. I don't remember seeing that one though.
yeah. I think I do.
Well, some of you get more emails than I do.
Yeah.
Any of you get them?
I think so, yeah,
All
I
right,
signed up for it.
yeah.
That's
Annual
good.
meeting, yeah.
because they are our association.
Yeah.
The question I posed in my email to Fred and Grace Levergood was if some of these House bills are things that we would support the legislature doing, might we write a letter, encourage our representatives, which in this case are Paul Tudor and Terry Roy in the House and John Reagan in the Senate, encourage them to support this legislation. And, you know, you guys are all wiser than I am in some of these matters about a bill that seeks to expand which wetlands would qualify for consideration as a prime wetland, which is House Bill 158, for example.
Mhm.
So do you think, I guess I'm trying to think what's the order of questions. Are you interested in talking about legislation like this? And if so, do you want to then think about, you know, on the behalf of the Conservation Commission saying we support this House bill or not? 'Cause I
Sure.
think
Is that considered lobbying? And wouldn't it be better if we directed our responses to NHACC rather than to our elected officials? What do you say, Linda?
I would agree with you, Fred. I think that I'm not sure the selectmen would want Conservation Commission members. You can do it as individuals. I think this came up at a selectmen meeting recently. I don't know if Susan Austin remembers that discussion or not, but unless the whole commission is in agreement, and even so, I would say with caution that it would be best to go through NHACC
what do you mean?
or
go through-
as individuals.
What do you mean by go through NHACC?
Well, they are the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, and I'm sure that they act on behalf of all the conservation commissions and would be making a statement regarding proposed legislation.
Okay, I'm back to reading her outreach and it says, at NHACC, we work in the legislature and on state committees to ensure conservation commissions are representative,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Please review the links to the general court website and let me know if you have any concerns or comments on these proposed bills. Now, since this is sent to me as an individual, if I want to chime in and say I'm a member of I'm a member of the Northwood Conservation Commission, but I'm not speaking on behalf of this body, then I could chime in. But, and so you're saying, Linda, that let the ACC be the agent to communicate to the legislature, and or if each of us individually could contact our representatives and say how we feel about these bills. But you think
Yes, I'm not saying that the Conservation Commission couldn't decide that every single person agrees with it, or you take a vote and you want to send them a statement to that effect as the Conservation Commission. I'm just saying, I don't think it would be appropriate for the Conservation Commission to do it through the individual representatives that are voting on it. That should be an individual thing. But if you go through your association, I don't know why you couldn't decide to support legislation that is part of the purpose of the Conservation Commission or supports your mission.
let me clarify that. You're saying that if we Northwood Conservation Commission took a vote in support of HB 158, for example, about expanding wetlands, we could take that vote and then write a letter to the Association for Conservation Commissions and say, we support this legislation. We encourage you to carry that to the legislature. You think that could be one way we could express an opinion? Or do you think that we would
Well, first of all, I'm neither a legal representative for the town or knowledgeable as to what the selectmen would be comfortable with. But I certainly, if it's in line with the mission of the Conservation Commission and you're sending a letter to the association saying that you support, is it legislation that's proposed at this time?
Yes.
Then I wouldn't see any issue with that. I don't think that,
The question I would have
the
is-
only thing that would concern me is sending it directly to state legislators. That was all I felt was a little bit beyond what would be appropriate, but
Well, the other question is, would we get would the board, select board, think that we were overstepping our bounds to express an opinion to anybody without sort of going through them? And maybe that gets you into the legal realm and you'll have to talk to the, town.
I think it's much safer for every individual on the Conservation Commission. When you start getting into a political arena, although everybody on the commission may support it, it's still putting the commission in a political arena that really is better served by the NHACC, speaking for all towns and cities in New Hampshire. Just my opinion. I think the selectmen would prefer volunteers to stay on course as to what the responsibilities are on a town level, in the NHACC for a more statewide viewpoint, if you want to call it that, or activity or goals, rather than the local commission being involved to that degree. But maybe not. I would certainly, if it was really going to be, I haven't read the bill, so I can't say whether, I don't know if they're controversial or not, or whether there's some folks on the select board that would say, oh, I don't support that. Why is our commissioners sending a letter saying they do? If it's anything, I would err on the side of caution. That would be my opinion, and let NHACC know what you think and have them bring that forward. And if you really feel that strongly about it, the commission can draft a letter to the selectmen and ask for it to be considered on their agenda for next week.
Well, what I think I'd like to do is talk to Barbara Richter and find out what they do and what other conservation commissions in other towns around the state do. And if most other towns and cities, conservation commissions say nothing in these matters, or simply, say, if you want to testify at the hearing, here's how you can go about testifying as an individual. But, for all the points you've raised, it becomes too sticky for commissions in towns to take positions on bills. I'll give you an example from the New Hampshire Lake Association, which is keeping an eye on wake boats, which are these vehicles. I see heads nod. These are these boats that are designed to very low in the water with ballast tanks so that they throw up great huge wakes, which water skiers can ski back and forth across and jump. And the problem with that is on small lakes, a big wake is problematic for people who are out in kayaks or who are worried about beach erosion and so forth. So that's going to be a real political battle between the wake boaters and people who don't want, the aggravation of wakes and so forth. This stuff, in some cases, is maybe somewhat more benign, but then again, anytime you're talking about water resources, it gets pretty testy. So I'm going to call.
Sorry.
Susan?
I just think that since that Association of Conservation Commissions is offering that opportunity, that we should ask them directly how to go about doing that. Certainly they have had experience in people, conservation commissions, submitting something, writing a document or something for them to consider or regarding legal issues. So, I don't see how it's feasible though for us to do it without stepping outside of our bounds as a conservation commission. But maybe they have an idea themselves of how we can go about doing that.
Yeah.
I just think it's really very complicated.
Ask for their advice, yeah. Definitely.
Well,
I would
two
tend to
things-
agree, and let me finish, Linda. One of the things I've taken comfort in as a person who owns a property on Jenness Pond is that so does Hal Kreider. And he's a member and active participant in Bear Paw. So I'm satisfied that when the New Hampshire Lake Association is raising these issues, someone who's on the select board who has some interest in the health of Northwood Lakes is on that board. I'm not so sure that, and because of that, we have law warrant articles that deal with invasive aquatic species and both mitigation and prevention. So, but I don't know that, for example, our current representative, Terry Roy, I don't know where he lives or what he cares about, but it'd be real important if for the health of our lakes or for the health of our wetlands, understands some of these issues and would be supportive of legislation that would be protective of wetlands and lakes. And I'm just wondering, how can we go about educating him, Terry Roy, John Reagan, about these issues and expressing our opinions. And I'll ask Barbara Richter and see what she thinks.
Well, I was only going to mention two things. I'll mention them quickly. A while back, I don't know how many years ago now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was an issue that came up via email. There was a conservation commission here in New Hampshire on the other part of the state, Winnie might remember, over by Keene or that area, that had a particular problem going on and had asked other Conservation Commission members to support their stand on something, and had asked the Northwood as well. And they, they had, I don't know, a number of commissions send letters in support of what they were doing. When it came up for the Northwood discussion, there was a member on the commission who still is, Steve Hampel, and he had a different opinion, and he brought it up that he felt that it really was not the role of the Northwood Conservation Commission to be involved. And it ended up that no letter was sent. And it was decided if people felt strongly, they could send a letter of support on their own. The other thing I will mention is that, and I won't get into any detail on it, but also a number of years ago now, maybe about 4 or 5, there was a person who had served many years on the Northwood Conservation Commission, did a tremendous amount of work, and made a decision about a letter that was sent and was not reappointed, to the dismay of all the other commissioners, because they did what their conscience dictated, and I'll leave it at that. And it was very, very upsetting to the then members of the Conservation Commission, as well as myself and others, that had occurred. That's why I guess I caution that it seems, if anybody feels really strongly about it, that they should use the NHACC as the vehicle to make the contact with state legislators.
Linda, when you said they had acted according to conscience, do you mean the individual who wrote a letter?
Yes,
No, the board.
yes.
Yeah, so yeah, okay.
And I'm sure there's at least 2 people that know exactly, or 3 that know exactly what I'm talking about.
So because there is a New Hampshire Conservation Association of Conservation Commissions, I'm thinking if there are a particular piece, I don't know if they do this. They did send something out about legislation, right, Tom?
They sent out, yeah, this email alerts us to this bills that are pending in the House.
Yeah. And were they asking for people to sign on, or? I think
It
it's
says-
tricky. I think it's tricky to bring.
This came to me as an individual on their mailing list and says, let me know, which is Barbara Richter, if you have any concerns or comments on these proposed bills. And she says what the bills are and says what happened last year.
Yeah.
But she doesn't say what, if any, individual or collective action should be taken. It concludes saying the NHACC will continue to follow the right to know bills and provide any updates to the conservation commissions through the e-news and legislative updates. So, but they will, but they say we work in the legislature and on state committees to ensure conservation commissions are represented. And
I think if
I
there was
think-
legislation around like LCHIP funding or something, I could see the Conservation Commission this Conservation Commission, I don't know if it's ever done things like this before, saying, yeah, we'll support that, but otherwise, I think you have to
Yeah.
be really careful about what the commission does versus what individuals do.
Yeah,
I
so-
agree.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've been a member of statewide forestry organizations everywhere. And I think that the way to address this is that, you know, Tom, maybe you or somebody who understands the legislative process really well could be a member of their board for that, the Association of Conservation Commissions. And that would be a representation on that board rather than us endangering, you know, our membership and contributions to our individual town conservation commission. So I think you'd have to take somebody who has an opinion or is interested in being involved, needs to be a member of that commission, not the local one, but the, you know, the Association of Conservation Commissions, in order to participate in that process. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think that's the only way you're going to be able to express your opinion.
Well, I can call up Paul Tudor and ask him if he knows anything about HB 82 and tell him what I think. So
Absolutely.
That's true.
that's a straight line between me and my representative, who will, by the way, beat me for the position. In which case, if I had won, I would be, you know, have a pretty straight line to this. I would also, in some instances,
Yeah.
want to consult with, you know, David Corson, who served as our representative for the last 2 years, and see, you know, how do I make my thoughts, how can I have influence in this particular bill? But all that's at the individual level. And, you know, I've got enough fish frying right at the moment to not want to necessarily
Yeah, I'm sure.
do that. And I have a strong feeling, since Paul Tudor and I are working from an alternative set of facts about the world, that I don't know that I would get very far with him
Anyway,
or with
it's
Terry Roy, for
complicated.
that matter.
Okay. All right, well, I think we,
So I'll report back and see if I can learn anything from the Barbara Richter.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
great, thank you. Anything else? Okay, well, March 2nd is our next meeting, so I make a motion to adjourn.
I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you.